So, 9 times out of 10, you're going to see me with most likely is an M4. Now, some kind of variants like the 416, the MCX, the Scars, you name it, I've probably done it. But once in a blue moon, you'll probably catch me with an actual AK. Because let's be real, sometimes M4s can be boring. Now, yes, I can hear the boos and everything else. I do apologize, my guys. But in reality, have you ever considered about thinking about building more like an Eastern build and something that's actually common, technically in the real firearms, all around the world? So, for today's episode, I'm sorry my Russian groups in regards of it, so let me try out with my Russian a little bit, but I'll try this now. Dobry wieczór. Сегодня я рассматриваю Specna Arms J сериал. Давай. What's up, guys? And today we're going to be talking about is actually the Specna Arms J series. Mainly the fact that what we have here is the core rifle for the AK. Now for Specna Arms to actually do the same concept of the AK instead of doing the typical M4s, again, nice little touches in there, but again, we're going to be going into it more in depth, starting off with the front end of the rifle. Now, again, the cores, what you would know is the fact that it's going to be polymer in some places, but at the same time, still have full metal constructions. The same thing can be said about the actual front end of the flash hider all the way to the barrel itself. Again, your gas tube's still going to be full metal, everything else, as well to that, even the actual front sight as well. So again, for durability construction-wise, you're going to be okay from there. And as well to that, we're going to go into the handguards where you're going to have is your reinforced polymer system on there. And don't worry, guys, you can swap it out later on for to upgrade it to such as the Zenico builds that you want to do. But in regards to the constructions all the way to the actual receiver on the polymer, again, something you don't have to worry about it when it comes to flexing because these things are actually still rigid. And again, not a problem on these actual rifles itself. And of course, let's go ahead and talk about the sights itself. Now, one thing you're going to see on the actual AK-104s and 105 series from Specna Arms is you're going to have your standard front sight to be on the top and your elevation and the back of the sights for here on the back end of where the block would be on the top of the gas tube. Now, again, sometimes you just don't want to use iron sights as well. Maybe you want to do something else. Well, don't worry, guys. The Specna Arms on the receiver has the actual scope mount on the back end to put in the standard actual AK scope mount and to have the nice Picatinny rail on top of the dust cover to help put in the normal red dots you want to do if you want to be of that more modern look. Now let's get back to the receiver basically being that reinforced polymer system. Again, it's still rigid, and of course what's going to have to talk about is the controls itself. Now the controls is going to be, again, like your standard AK, being safe, full auto, and then semi on the bottom. And of course that the trigger system is going to be underneath, which is still going to be your standard trigger controls of the AK. But again, for the controls of the magazine release though, why need ambidextrous, all this stuff for the M4 when you actually have an ambidextrous type of paddle magazine release when it comes to AK? So for my left-handers or my actual normal standard traditional right-handers, you guys are going to be just fine when it comes to releasing the magazine. And control-wise, well, you'll be okay as well too. Now let's get into another important thing that we need to know is the battery space. Now, of course, like M4s, it would be in the stock. But for AKs, mainly the fact the same thing as the actual J series, it's going to be right inside the dust cover. Now, for one thing that the benefit I do like about with the actual J series from Specna Arms is the fact that you have a massive amount of space for your actual AK battery. I mean, look, this is an 11.1 Echo Lipo 9, and the fact you just took it all the way in. Sorry, children. But in general, with the actual AK itself is the fact that you have a lot amount of space for your actual battery spacage in regards of the AK itself. All you have to do is just plug it in, make sure that the wires are tucked in itself, and put back the actual dust cover. You're good to go. And of course, you're solid. Again, it's a pretty nice setup. And of course, the battery space is what amazes me in this actual matter. Let's get into the actual internals on the actual AK, mainly on the J series. The fact that you're going to still have is your standard version 3 gearbox itself with the 18-1 gear sets and alongside the standard 18K Specna Arms motor. But one thing that I do like in this actual AK from the J series itself is the one thing that's important as your first actual modification is the fact that you have a steel rack on the piston itself. Many times in the actual AKs, or actual in general with Airsoft, is they would have is the full polymer system. But they just tend to break easily on that. And of course, if the AOE is already corrected from the get-go, there's nothing wrong with a full steel rack piston inside as well. So of course, with Specna Arms J series, that's one plus that I do like in the compression itself. With all the internals that are basically in here, this does make it really reliable, and also with the trigger harness itself to basically easily rock the 11.1 LiPo battery with such a breeze. Now for one thing, that's also a benefit to the internals itself, as we actually pull the charging handle back to reveal the hop-up arm itself inside with the slider bar from the hop-up chamber itself. One thing that we do know for sure is that in the AKs, it's a fine tune in between. So the fact that whatever weight BB you want to use in the actual AK, it can take it, as well as that, you're also going to have, that's a plus on here, is the 603 tightbore barrel on any type of J series AK. So what else do you need more than just the reliable gear sets, the full steel rack on the piston itself, and the fact that you have a 603 tightbore barrel for such a reasonable price? Makes it the more bang for your buck for everybody. Now you have two choices of basically between of whether you can want the skeleton stock or the full stock on the J series from Specna Arms' AK. And the fact that one we have here is the full stock, because for some reason I do like this one more. It kind of gives me the vibes of the Metal Gear Solid 2 when you get the AN94, even though it's not an AN94. Still close enough. Work with imagination. But one thing that's also a benefit is the fact that it folds all the way through, and it's a nice collapsible setup. So when you have to get out into technical vehicles or keep in that tight corner areas, you're still able to keep it just ready to go. And once you're actually cleared it out, push the latch, back to full stock, now you have that stability. Here's a secret what a lot of other places don't tell you. The fact that when you push this, either not for the latch itself, but in the real world, the AK would have its cleaning kit inside here. So when you need to get to it, pushes the latch open, so you can actually open it out. Again, little fine details that you can have in the AK itself. And Specna Arms wasted no money on that. Now remember, on the actual part of the stock, I told you on the internals that it has a quick change spring. Well, how fast is the quick change spring? There's your spring guide right there. All you need to do is just take it out, pop it out, and then guess what? Easy enough to fast change to indoor actual FPS or outdoor, wherever you would want to play. Let's go into the magazine compatibility. But before we do that, let's go ahead and talk about the mag that comes on the J series itself. Now for Specna Arms, it does come with is a 450 round high capacity mag. And again, the design for it is actually pretty nice with a texturized grip on the end of it to help out with reloads. And these magazines are really durable enough to even do a Spetsnaz reload, which, if you're wondering what it looks like this. You take your other magazine, basically flip the actual mag wall, put your new mag in, rack, and you're good to go. Now for the actual magazine compatibility with other aftermarket companies, what we usually test is with the actual SEMA itself, the actual LCT, ENL, Lancer Tacticals, and heck, even JG magazines. And the actual results of it is, surprisingly, Specna Arms takes every single one of them, which is a pretty nice basis. And again, a big plus for that when it comes to actually changing out or sharing magazines with your other comrade. But other than that, hey, you're good to go on the AK. I'm using .20 gram BBs. While chronoing the gun itself, one thing we know for sure on the actual outdoor spring itself, we're getting on average around the 369 to 374 FPS. Again, a perfectly good setup for the outdoors. But the fact of the matter is, if you need to change out your spring itself, again, you can always have it with the indoor spring to make it actually shoot around the 340 or to even the 320 FPS to make it more indoor friendly legal. So basically, what would happen if you purchase one of these actual J Series AKs? What does it actually come with? Well, for starters, let's go ahead and talk about is the actual QR code for your user manual on how to operate and troubleshoot for any other situations for your Specna Arms actual J Series AK. As well to that, if you're looking for other products such that you need from actual Specna Arms, they give you this nice QR code for their other types of rifles and products out there. And of course, we can't go wrong with the flexing of the actual nice sticker systems that they got. As well to that, not only the rifle you'll get, but of course you're going to have is your high cap magazine that's going to be holding 480 rounds, your 90 spring to actually change it out for indoor legal use of CQB types of fields, and the most important thing you're going to need is the actual cleaning and jamming rod just to help out with the maintenance on the AK itself. So my overall thoughts on the actual Specna Arms and how do I feel about it? Well, for one thing, for an AK, on the tests and also reviews, this thing blows it out of the water. The fact that for magazines itself, being compatible to mostly everything. And as well as that, the polymer is a nice lightweight setup, but still as rigid as the full metals you see like on the LCTs and ENL. Again, a big plus. And another big plus is the fact that we've seen in regards to reliability and durability is the gearbox from Specna Arms, being a quick, easy access in the spring change itself. And of course, the actual internals basically is doing really good, including the extra nice 603 tightbore barrel alongside it is a nice extra little touch that we've seen. And as well to that, for the whole thing overall, again, it still is the ideal pack of being reasonable for an actual pricing of the gun itself. But what do you guys think about the AK? How do you guys feel about from Specna Arms? Comment on what you guys think. What would you guys do with this AK and type of setups? Don't forget to like and subscribe on our actual videos. And if you're looking for products like these, just check it out airsoftmaster.com. But again, from Mike, I'll see you guys on the next episode.
This video is brought to you by Airsoft Master.